Good morning. Going to give everyone a second to tune in here. Just a short amount of time as we're starting the show. This is Patrick Lee. It's time for Midweek Motivation Live. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that's been on my heart for a while. C.S. Lewis books and quotes. I've read many C.S. Lewis books in the past. We're going to be talking about a couple of things that have been prevalent in my life and your life. Some of the things that I think are going to matter to you today. When we come back, you know how this works. We're going to be back in just a few minutes. Good morning, Sal. People already tuning in all over to watch the show. We're going to be talking about C.S. Lewis quotes today on multiple different topics in your life. When we come back right after this. And we are back. I hope everyone is doing well today. Hey, Gary, good to see you on here. Yes, love you some C.S. Lewis. I tell you what, I got turned on to C.S. Lewis probably in middle school, and then went on to read some of his more important works in high school. My sister bought me the Chronicles of Narnia when I was in middle school. Many of you may know this, many of you may not. I inhaled books. I absorbed books so fast as a child. Hello, Miss Gina. Good to see you watching as well. I would have my math book standing up like in the fourth grade. My math book would be standing up on my desk, and I would have another book behind it in school, and I would be reading something else. I literally consumed a book so quickly. My middle school teacher, Mrs. Milne, had written in my middle school journal that I was a reading and spelling wizard. And I've kind of adopted that nickname wizard in the past for many, many years in different situations. I would read books on tape before reading books on tape was a thing. So other upperclassmen could understand the reading assignments that we had. So I would actually go to a recording studio in one of our offices in the library and read books on tape. So I used to inhale books quickly. I still read a lot, but not as much as I did. But C.S. Lewis was one of the authors that was very profound. He was a lot of people were reading C.S. Lewis in the 70s. And he started writing, though, however, many decades previously. And he wrote, of course, the Chronicles of Narnia that many of you will probably understand. Prince Caspian, the story of Aslan, and all of the kids that go through the wardrobe into, of course, the first movie, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, into the land of Narnia. But then he also wrote a lot of other works that are less known, other than the people that really get into that kind of thing. So he wrote another sci-fi series about the struggle with man and Satan and an evil world and universe out of Perelandria, that hideous strength. A lot of those, that trilogy. And then he also wrote books like The Problem of Pain and the Screwtape Letters. And I've read all of them as well. Screwtape Letters are a bunch of stories about demons and their relationship with Satan and their problem with influencing men and their attitudes and the way that we are as humans. But today I want to talk to you about a mix-up of C.S. Lewis quotes from many of his books, a few of them. And we're going to be starting with The Problem of Pain. And we're going to be talking, yes, Mere Christianity, Gary. That's a hard read, but a good one. Yes, who are we to think that we are worthy of salvation, right? That's Mere Christianity will have you asking yourself that question. Drinking some great half-calf coffee today in my AMC mortgage cup. Amanda McCampbell, one of the best lenders in Amarillo, at AMC Mortgage gave me that cup. AMC is almost like Amanda McCampbell. That's that's AMC and her name go right together. That just popped into my head. Wow. So that's so profound. It's like they named the mortgage company after Amanda McCampbell. That's awesome. So let's dive into this, guys. People already chomping at the bit. They're like, yes, Sal, black coffee. That's how I like my coffee, hot and black. Fill the cup with hot and black. Let's dive into this today. So I put this all together based on it. We're going to have 8 topics, and they're all based on different C.S. Lewis quotes. And we're going to dive right into the hard one, and that is loss and grief. C.S. Lewis said about loss and grief. Grief is like a long valley, a winding valley where any bend may reveal a totally new landscape. Loss and grief are universal experiences that touch every individual at some point in our life. C.S. Lewis aptly compares grief to a winding valley where each bend reveals a new landscape of emotions and understandings. The journey through grief is often long and arduous, marked by months of intense pain and sorrow and flashes of humor. But however, amidst the darkness in that sorrow, there is also the potential for growth and transformation. Grief has the power to reshape our perspectives, deepen our empathy, and strengthen our resilience. Now, empathy is not the same as sympathy. Sympathy, when you sympathize with someone, you feel for them. You feel, maybe you feel sorry for their loss. And many times, many of you watching the show have felt that for me. You have sympathized with me in my time of loss. I have also sympathized with you in your time of loss. We have laughed and cried through a lot of different things together in the past. And then that empathy, of course, is a deep understanding in that, where you come alongside that person and uplift or upbraid and hold that person together. And that's where I think that empathic people have that feeling. That's where relationship glue comes together. Empathy is, I think, the emotion or the understanding that really does bring our glue together, and that grief has the power to do that. When someone is grieving, we are allowed the opportunity to experience that, share that with ourselves and the people in our relationships, right? We deepen that empathy. It strengthens our resilience to be a friend. By allowing ourselves to fully experience and process that grief with ourselves and with those people, we open ourselves to the possibility of healing and finding meaning in the midst of loss. One of the best things that you can do for a person who is going through grief, a time of loss, and it could be a loss of a loved one, a family member. It could be the loss of a pet, okay? Those are real things. People that have pets have pet children. They are fur babies, they call them. I don't have any fur babies. We have wild feral cats that live in the neighborhood. I don't claim any of them. I believe cats, like my pastor, cats were not created by the eternal being in heaven. I think they were created by the other one. But there are also, my daughters are cat people, and there are a lot of you watching the show that are cat people, and that's okay. But you suffer loss when you end up having to put down a pet, or that animal gets hit by a car, whatever it is. People on social media are sharing these things daily. Loss and grief. This year in real estate, we are calling it the year of D&D, and it's death and divorce. And many clients right now are going through either the loss of a loved one, a death of a spouse or a parent, which is causing them to need to sell a home, or they're also suffering the loss of divorce, and they're having to sell the home to move on. Maybe the courts are forcing you to sell your dream home, and that's a time of grief. It's like a loss, and we go through that. And when we are going through that, or we have a friend who is going that, we have at that point the opportunity to empathize with that person, to deepen that relationship and let that relationship become that much stronger. Finding a common ground and a place where we can heal, and find meaning in what's going on. Everyone likes to say, and C.S. Lewis doesn't say it this way. This is just Patrick Lee talking. So many people say that God has, it's all in God's plan. And I don't believe that. Every tragic thing that happens was not God's plan. Is God omnipotent? Absolutely. That means he's all powerful. Is he omniscient? Yes. That means he knows all, sees all, not like a wizard, but because he sees the ending from the beginning. His timeline, we've talked about it on the show. His timeline is ours is from here to here, and God sees it all at the same time. A year is as a day is as 1,000 years. 1,000 years is as a day, his word says. So he sees it all, but it's not all part of God's plan for you to go through grief and lose a loved one and experience pain. However, there is a lesson learned in the pain, and that is the opportunity for us to grow in our relationships with each other and our relationship with him. But God doesn't take our children from us. God doesn't cause our animal to get hit by a bus. God does not cause our father to have a heart attack and die in front of us. Sin entered the world, and we live in a fallen world. There is death, sickness, and disease as a part of life, but it's not God's plan for every one of us to lose family, friends, relationships in these tragic ways. However, we do live in a fallen world. I'm not C.S. Lewis. I'm not a psychologist, but I can tell you from experience and from what I know in life and what I know in the word, that God is not the evil person, the puppeteer in heaven, pulling the strings and causing pain to happen to you. Lesson number 2, pain and suffering. Pain insists upon being attended to. God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our consciences, but shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. How about that quote? That can be a tough one, right? Pain insists upon being attended to. How many of you are the type of person that experiences a little pain and automatically you turn into a crybaby? Men? I'm laughing. I'm laughing because women can go through childbirth and scream and yell and continue to deliver children and break fingernails backwards and live through it. And men get a cold sometimes, and it seems like we have the cold is like the man flu, and we're not going to live through it. But pain and suffering are intrinsic aspects of the human condition. We are going to go through times of pain, whether we like it or not. It's inevitable and unavoidable. C.S. Lewis famously describes pain as God's megaphone to rouse a deaf world, suggesting that suffering has the power to awaken us to deeper truths and realities beyond our immediate circumstances. A couple of years ago, I got a massage. A few years ago, the first time I'd ever gotten full body massage, and it was gifted to me. And within 30 minutes of coming home from the massage, I started to feel bad. Hello, Joan, my Puerto Rican sister. How are you today? Lisa, good morning, my dear friend. Also. And upon returning home from the massage, I started to feel uneasy, queasy. The massage therapist said, drink a bottle of water, gave me a bottle of water on leaving, and said, massage can release some toxins into your body. Drink a lot of water. You're going to want to flush this through your system. However, and I tried that, and it kept getting worse and worse. Within about 30 more minutes, I was on the ground writhing in pain, and my wife is fixing to go to a fingernail appointment. She doesn't know what to do, and I said, I'm a man. I'm okay. I'm going to get over this. Whatever I have to do, go ahead and do your nails. And it just got worse and worse. She went and had her nails done. By the time she came home, I just said, take me to the ER. I think I'm going to die. And what had happened was my appendix was rupturing, and it was probably already inflamed and infected, and I didn't know it. And the release of toxins into my body caused it to go into, appendix overload. And that pain then was compounded by the fact that I also found out that I had 3 hernias at the same time. So I ended up in the ER. I had to have emergency surgery, and they did hernia repair and removed my appendix. And how many of you know that we may be feeling some pain and some easiness in our body, some uneasiness in our body, but it's not enough for us to take notice or take action. And it's not until that pain starts becoming inflamed that whisper turns into a loud voice. And it's like, hey, this hurts. And if you don't pay attention to that and you suppress that, then it turns into that megaphone. C.S. Lewis says God's megaphone that will rouse you out of that condition and cause you to react in a way that makes you take action to eliminate the pain. When you're in that kind of pain, the only thing you want is relief. And those of you in the medical field can attest to that. You know that all that person wants at that point is relief. Give me drugs, give me drugs, give me drugs, give me morphine, inject it, hit me over the head with a hammer, whatever. That megaphone is yelling at you so loud, you have become so attuned to that pain, you're like, do anything to just eliminate the pain. It's an intrinsic aspect of the human condition, unavoidable in life. While suffering can be profoundly challenging and at times seemingly unbearable, it also has the potential to cultivate virtues such as patience, compassion, and perseverance. How many of you know that some people have a higher threshold for pain? Some people's is very low. Moreover, through the lenses of faith, suffering can be seen as a pathway to redemption and spiritual growth. Many of you realize that you turn to prayer when you start going through pain. You're like, Lord, heal me. Heal my body from the top of my head to the soles of my feet. Let your healing oil flow over me. I receive your healing into my body. You start quoting scripture. You start speaking words of faith because you want the pain to go away. I have been healed of pain in my body multiple times, many times through the laying on of hands of other people, pastors and preachers, my parents, family members, and many times through the laying on of hands of my own hand on my own body, claiming the scripture that says that God's healing flows through. Are any among you sick? Let the laying on of hands by the elders lay hands on them, and I have done that and been healed. Through that lens of faith, our suffering can be seen as a pathway to redemption, spiritual growth, and healing, leading us closer to God and His purposes for our life. So let that pain waken you when you go through that pain and suffering. Let it be God's megaphone to cause you to take action, and through that, get relief. Hello, Pastor Colette. I didn't know you were watching as well. Thank you. That's awesome. I love that. Third, love and relationships. Oh, no, this is a tough one right here. Everyone goes, ooh. C.S. Lewis says, to love at all is to be vulnerable. Love anything and your heart will be wrung and possibly broken. If you want to make sure of keeping it intact, you must give it to no one, not even an animal. And I'm like, wow, C.S., that's a lonely way to go through life, not giving your heart to anyone. But he really says that if you choose to love and enter into relationships, there is a very good possibility that your heart is going to be wrung out and possibly broken. He says love is both the source of profound joy and vulnerability. He reflects on the inherent risk of love, acknowledging that to love is to open oneself up to the possibility of pain and heartbreak. However, also emphasizing the transformative power of love. How many of you know that to love, when you choose to love, you become a transformed person? You're not the same person you were as you enter into this relationship and you open up your heart to this other person. It changes you many times, usually for the better, right? For the better. True love requires vulnerability and sacrifice, as it involves opening your heart to another person, despite the risk that comes with that. And we get that. How many of us have friends that seem to date the same kind of toxic person over and over? And it's not until you come to grips with the fact that you have a type and you continue to be attracted to that certain type because of some form of misconceived love in the past, that you keep searching for something that's missing. So you let your walls down and you continue to give yourself to toxic people. You have to change that and understand what true love really is. And it's the true love that only comes from the Father. Our vulnerability to him, to allow him to transform us from the inside, is what causes us to understand what real love is, his love for us is. And once we get that, we learn how to love ourselves. And when we fully learn how to love ourselves, it's that point that we can give ourselves to other people and understand what true love and relationship is. I have a lot of people that ask me about relationships, and I tell them when they're single and they're lonely, and I say, when you are good with who you are in God and his love for you, and you are no longer broken, only then can you give yourself to another person. And if you give yourself to another person while still broken, you're doing that person a huge disservice. It's not fair. It's not fair to them, not you. It's not fair to them for you to give your broken self to them. Give your broken self to God. Let him heal you. And then you're worthy to give that to someone else. It's through this love that we experience correction and connection and true intimacy in the fullness of human experience. Isn't that what we all want in life, is to be loved? Come on. We all want to be loved and told we're pretty and right. Those are the things that are important in life, right? To be Christian means to forgive the inexcusable because God has forgiven the inexcusable in you. Forgiveness and redemption. That's C.S. Lewis's quote. To be Christian means to forgive the inexcusable because God has forgiven the inexcusable in you. How many of you know that that's a deep lesson that many of us need to understand? When judging other people, when choosing whether to enter into relationship with a person or to forgive a person who you are in relationship with who may have hurt you deeply. You've gone through the pain and the grief and the suffering. You understand that nothing in life happens to you. Everything in life happens for you, right? What am I going to learn in this? What kind of lesson is God trying to teach me in this? But it's a central theme in C.S. Lewis writings throughout most of his books. He reflects on the Christian belief in the power of grace and redemption. Lewis asserts that true forgiveness involves letting go of resentment and extending mercy to those who have wronged us. I'm self-reflecting right now. I'm sorry. It's okay. I'm having an epiphany in my own brain and my own spirit as I'm talking. Extending mercy to those who have wronged us. Okay, God, thank you. Mirroring the forgiveness that God extends to humanity is what God calls us to do. He has forgiven us. To whom much is forgiven, or much is given, much is required. But I would use that into forgiven. To whom much is forgiven, much forgiveness is required. God has forgiven the inexcusable in us. Don't we owe it to other people to extend that to them as well? Through forgiveness, we break free from the chains of bitterness and find healing for our wounded hearts. Moreover, forgiveness is not only an act of compassion towards others, but also a means of personal liberation. We have said many times on the show that when you forgive someone, the person you set free from prison is you, not them. You set yourself free. You liberate yourself when you choose to forgive someone. Even if you never go to that person and tell them, I forgive you, if you forgive that person in your heart, mind, and soul, you have set yourself free. You've given yourself the liberty to walk in freeness. It allows you to move forward with greater peace and resilience in life. Trust me. Speaking about doubt and faith, C.S. Lewis says, I believe in Christianity as I believe that the sun has risen. Not only because I see it, but because by it, I see everything else. How many of you have a spirit of doubt and question your faith regularly? I'll give you a second to respond. The sun came up today in Amarillo, Texas. I'm sure it came up today where you live as well, right? And true faith literally means that I believe in God, his plan for my life, his redemption for me, and his soon return, as much as I believe that the sun is going to come up in the morning, right? The sun will come out tomorrow if the clouds aren't in the way, but the sun will rise. And as much as I believe that the sun has risen, I also believe that by that faith, everything else can be mine. Everything else God has told me can be mine. Everything that I am supposed to have, the health I'm supposed to walk in, the abundance I'm supposed to live in, and the relationships that I'm supposed to have are all mine. And I need to choose to believe that as much as I choose to believe the sun will come out tomorrow. C.S. Lewis says, doubt is a natural, inevitable aspect of faith as it prompts us to wrestle with questions and seek deeper understanding. He acknowledges the tension between doubt and faith, but affirms his belief in his faith in Christianity, not solely based on empirical evidence, but also on the transformative power of faith itself. Many of you that watch the show are faith people. You're sharing the show today to family and friends and those that you know, love, and trust for this reason. Maybe their faith can be grown and increased through sharing the show today. But it's not only based on that. It's on the transformative power of that faith that has happened in you. And when that happens in you, you want to share that with other people as well. Faith isn't the absence of doubt, but rather the willingness to trust in the midst of that doubt and uncertainty that you will have what you are supposed to have, that you will come through on the other side of what you are going through. And only with that kind of a faith are you ever going to have what you're supposed to have. If you don't believe it's going to happen, your mouth is going to speak what you believe. And if you believe doubt and you speak words of doubt, you're going to walk in doubt. If you have faith in your heart and you believe that you are going to have what you're supposed to have, that you will make it through what you're going through, that you're learning a lesson as you are going through it, then you're going to start speaking that. Your ears are going to hear that. Your spirit man or woman is going to grow, and you will have the things that you say through the power of your speech. Faith isn't the absence of doubt. It's the willingness to trust in the middle of that doubt. It's through the journey of doubt and questioning that our faith is refined and strengthened. That leads us to the deeper relationship with God that we all want, and a more authentic expression of our belief to other people. Thank you, Dustin. Appreciate that comment. Let's go. So I use that. I'll say all that all the time. Let's go. What does C.S. Lewis say about fear and courage? We've got 3 more and we're going to be out of here. C.S. Lewis says that courage is not simply one of the virtues, but the form of every virtue at the testing point. That's pretty powerful. The motto of the show, we say it at the end of every show, courage begins at the end of your comfort zone. So my challenge to you is to get out there and become uncomfortable to the point that you become comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's the life lesson that many motivational speakers, personal development people, business leaders, and thought leaders will tell you. You need to learn how to start swimming in the uncomfortable, right? When you become comfortable with that. Courage isn't one of the virtues. It's the form of every virtue at the testing point. No matter what virtue you're talking about, you're not going to experience it without some level of courage. C.S. Lewis says fear is a powerful emotion that can paralyze us and prevent us from fully living our lives. He recognized the pervasive influence of fear, but also reminds us that courage isn't the absence of fear, but rather the ability to act in spite of it. John Wayne said, do it afraid, right? I love that quote. Do it afraid. So courage isn't the absence of fear. It's not the opposite of fear. It's simply making the choice to move forward because you know that the reward, the lesson learned on the other side is going to be worth it. And I've learned this as well as I've studied, and I may have shared this on the show before, maybe recently. I don't remember. We go through so many topics, and I go I processed so many thoughts, but I know I shared this with somebody in the last couple of weeks. Fear, anxiety, and excitement are nearly the same emotion. They cause the same thing. Now, fear, a lot of people say that fear is what triggers fight or flight, but so does anxiety. Do you either stand there and embrace what's going on and just tackle it and fight it? Or do you run from it? The anxiety that comes with public speaking or singing on stage, speaking in front of large groups of people. Can you imagine being on American Idol or The Voice and having to go try out in front of hundreds of thousands of people, or these icons? Many people have a fear of singing on stage. When I was a little kid, my dad would give me money to sing special music to go down front and sing in front of people. And I became very comfortable with doing that after he had given me money a few times, right? So the active action of going forward and doing that allows us to become better at that, because through that practice, we develop that courage. But you have to use that courage even in fear, because fear, anxiety, and excitement are nearly the same emotion. True courage emerges when you confront that fear with your faith and your determination, refusing to be controlled by any of those three. Courage enables us to step outside of our comfort zone, pursue our dreams, and stand up for what we believe in, even in the face of adversity and these powerful emotions that seem to want to hold us back. Thank you, Roberta. I appreciate that. I really do. Roberta says, speaking truth and sharing wisdom. I really needed this today. Thank you, Roberta. That's very sweet. You are very courageous, my friend. The next one, there are far, far better things ahead than any we leave behind. Dealing with change and adaptation. I have been told in the past many times that I am like a chameleon. I am nimble on my feet. I can adapt to the different situations I'm in, environments that I choose to place myself in, and learn to adapt to those. Change is inevitable. Change is a constant. It's an inevitable part of life. Challenges us either to adapt or run. Do we adapt and fit in? Do we grow in our response to this new circumstance? I read, I think I've referenced a new jungle lesson that I went through years ago, that if you take a lion from one jungle and you move him somewhere else, that lion has to learn the rules of the new jungle. He has to learn to adapt, no matter what that animal is. When you move it, if it's a chicken, and you take a chicken from one flock of chickens and you take it to another farm and you go, let this chicken go with the other chickens, they quickly determine the pecking order, right? In real estate and business, there's a pecking order. There is a golden rule, and that golden rule is the person with the gold makes the rules, right? But you have to learn how to learn how to make those rules for yourself. You have to learn how to be adaptable, nimble, not so brutally dead set, digging in your heels. I'm not going to accept this, but you have to kind of learn how to adapt and thrive in the situation that you put yourself in. And I challenge you to put yourself in some new, maybe uncomfortable positions moving forward. Have a little courage and go after some of the things that you have said to other people that you want to do, right? C.S. Lewis encourages us to embrace change with hope and optimism, recognizing that even in moments of transition and uncertainty, there are opportunities for us to grow and renew. While changes may be daunting, it also opens the door to new possibilities and adventures that we would have not encountered otherwise. My friends challenge me to go do other things all the time. Let's go to this event. Okay. Let's meet this person. Okay. Let's do this in business. Okay. You, Patrick, you need to be doing this right now. You'll make money faster. Okay. So my word this year to myself, even though I don't usually have a word each year, my word to me this year is just yes. Okay. Let's do it. What would happen if you just went for it, right? That was the topic of a whole show a couple years ago. What would happen if you just went for it? Maybe you shoot for the moon, and you don't make it, like Les Brown says. But even if you miss the moon, you still end up among the stars, right? It's better to go ahead and shoot high. And even if you don't make it all the way, you make it farther than if you shot low and miss and hit, right? So I would rather do that. Change may be daunting. It opens it, but it also opens the door to new possibilities that and adventures you would not have encountered otherwise. By remaining open to change and embracing the journey of transformation, we can navigate life's twists and turns with grace and resilience. And that's my challenge to you today. And then finally, the last quote today is on hope and resilience. C.S. Lewis says, you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. God is the only person, like I said, that sees the end from the beginning. And many of you have said to me in the past, oh, I wish I could go back to when I was 16 or 21, and I would not have made the decisions that I made. But all of us know and understand that we cannot do that, right? As far as we know, time travel doesn't exist. Just kidding. Time travel doesn't exist. But we've all said that at one time, right? I wish I could go back and fix the mistakes that I made. I wish I could go back and make a different decision. But we can't. But what we can do is start where we are, and we can change the outcome of where we end up by the choices we make today. We can start now and choose to have a better life. And at the end of most of these quotes, this is the one I wanted to bring in here at the end, because without hope, it seems like none of the rest of these matter. It's okay to be courageous and act in the face of fear. It's okay to work on love and relationships. But at the core of all of these is the hope. Hope is the attitude, the antidote to despair, C.S. Lewis says, fueling our resilience and our fortitude in the face of adversity. If there was no hope that we would succeed, if there's no hope that we would make it through the trial, if there was no hope that we would see that loved one again someday in heaven, if there was no hope that we would have joy after a lost relationship, what would be the point of existence? It would be meaningless. C.S. Lewis reminds us that while we cannot change the past, we have the power to shape our future through the choices we make in the present and the faith that we choose to operate in with our Creator. Hope empowers us to persevere through life's challenges, knowing that brighter days are ahead. We will experience love, joy, and peace again, even when we have gone through these times. Hope is the beacon of light that guides us through the darkest of times in our lives. It reminds us that every setback isn't a setback, it's an opportunity for a comeback. Every growth and every obstacle that we hurdle over is one more win in the game of life. It's one more battle won in the war that we are living in. It's a stepping stone towards our goals and dreams. With hope as our compass and faith at the keel, we can overcome any obstacle and emerge stronger and more resilient than before. I hope that all of these C.S. Lewis quotes have helped you today. I have read many of these through the years in the past, and I come back to them whenever someone brings up C.S. Lewis. I am reminded of many of these, and it's a lot of these you guys recognize if you watch the show, have ever watched the show, that these are core principles of kind of who I am, why I do the show, why I run in the circles that I run in, why I attend the church that I attend, why I'm in the business that I'm in. It's kind of who I am. I'm a person of great faith and great hope. While I am a failure, not claiming that I'm a failure, while I fail and fall short of complete success in some areas of life, there are some things that I am pretty dang good at, and being positive and expressing my faith and hope are probably two of the things that are the strongest parts of my character. And I cherish that very much. And I cherish all of you too. So take these today to heart. I hope this has helped you, motivate you today to live better for the rest of this week and to live better, have more hope and courage and faith moving forward. Like I say at the end of every show, courage begins at the end of your comfort zone. Go out there and get uncomfortable today. Exercise a little more hope, a little more faith. Help someone else. Be empathetic to another person, maybe that's going through suffering through grief and loss. Work on some of those relationships and help build a little bit more love. Let down some walls, open up a little bit more faith in other people. Be courageous. You can do it. I believe in you. Until next time, this has been Patrick Lee with Midweek Motivation Live. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.